Hi there, I'm Brian Thompson and welcome to the C100 qualification course. In this course we're going to go over the Canon C100, which is one of these fantastic video cameras that we've got here for you at the Digital Media Lab. We're going to go over what actually comes in the kit when you get one, when you rent one from the Digital Media Lab. We're going to talk about how to put the camera together. We're going to talk a little about how to care for the camera, all right, and make sure that we keep it in good working order for the next people after you who are going to want to use it. So that said, let's take a look at the camera and see how everything comes together. This is the kit that you get when you rent out a Canon C100 here. It's in a nice backpack that you can pretty much carry with you wherever you want. And trust me, it should be on your back because you don't want it to be stolen. Okay, let's crack it open and see what we've got. All right, here we go. This is the Canon C100 kit, and it is put together in a very sort of specific way. The bag itself is quite compact, and so as a result, in order to get everything in there, we kind of have to do it the same way every time. It's very important. There's going to be a diagram in the next unit that will show you exactly where everything goes. But here you should be able to get an idea of what's in here and what it all does. So first things first, we have our camera. Okay, there is the Canon C100. That is the body of the camera. And over here we've got our lens. Here we've got a 50mm lens. We've also got a larger 18 to 135, so 18 millimeters, very wide, all the way out to 135, which is pretty modest telephoto. Next up is something very, very important, and that is the top handle. It's also very important because it's got all the audio. This is the battery charger, okay? So you can just slide your batteries right in there. I will show you. You get two batteries, 4,900 milliamp hours, or 37 watt hours. This will probably give you about 4 hours worth of shooting. The only problem is that since it's such a powerful battery, it can also take a long time to charge it. So bear that in mind because you are responsible for bringing back the camera on a Monday morning at 9 a.m. With the batteries charged, because that Monday I can almost guarantee the camera is going to be in use in a class. You can see how charged the battery is by just hitting the button up here. It says check, and it'll light up, and you can see how much power your battery has left. In this case, I got what, 75. With each camera, you do get two batteries, and you can charge the battery by simply sliding it right in there, and then of course plugging in your charger as well. In addition to the batteries, the cameras do come with a power brick, okay? And so the brick can be very useful, particularly when you're shooting indoors. That way you don't have to rely on the battery. It just plugs directly into the camera. There's a jack in the back, okay? And that just plugs right in there. Okay. That's kind of the kit that you get when you rent the camera. You also get a Tascam lavalier mic. We will talk about that a little bit later. So we've got our camera, we've got our top handle, and we have got our lenses. All right, so let's talk about the top handle first, okay? The top handle is really important because, like I said, it contains most of the audio controls that you will have when you're operating the Canon C100. Now there is a little microphone on the body of the camera itself. That is a microphone. The sound here is terrible. You don't want to use this. At the very least, you should be using the microphones that come on the handle because they are a lot better than the microphone that's on the camera body itself. So let's talk about how you actually set this thing up. Even though it's a video camera, it's got a hot shoe. Just slide this metal plate on the bottom of the handle. Just slides right in here, okay, like that. And it makes a kind of satisfying click, but you're not done just yet, okay? Because as you can see, there's also a wheel in here that's attached to a screw, and you need to lock this all the way down. and make sure it is nice and tight. That way you won't get any play in the handle, and it'll be much safer to carry it around. In order to get the audio working here, we have to get the audio somehow from the handle into the camera. We do that using this cable here. And as you can see, this cable, it looks a little weird, and that's because it's I believe it's a proprietary cable. But there's a little triangle right here on the cable, and that's very important because we have to plug it into the camera. And we plug it into this jack. It's labeled on the outside EXT, and if we pull that down, we can see the jack itself, also labeled EXT. And you'll also see there's a little white triangle there, and all we need to do now is actually match up those triangles, push them together, and you are now connected and ready to rock and roll. It is designed to lock into place, which is great. The problem though is that when you're done shooting at the end of the day, you're gonna have to take this out, okay? You need to take this out in order to pack the camera up. In order to do that, all you need to do is grab the cable by the metal, okay? By the metal part. You don't wanna grab it by the plastic. You grab it by the metal part, you slide it back, and you pull, okay? And that's how you unlock the cable. If you just pull it from the plastic, you could end up damaging the camera, and that would be very, very bad. Next up is the lens, okay? Like I said, we have two lenses here for you to choose from. We've got a 50mm lens that is very fast, okay? So this one opens up to an aperture of f1.8. That makes it great for low light. Okay, you get nice bokeh with this lens. Great for doing interviews. Great for doing close-ups. Great for portraits. The other thing about the 50mm that you need to know is that there is no image stabilization on this lens. So even the slightest movement that you make with the camera is definitely going to be picked up when you're shooting with this lens. That means that if you intend to shoot something handheld, for instance, you probably do not want to shoot with the 50mm. You might consider shooting with this, the 18-135. Unlike the 50mm, the 18-135 is pretty slow. The maximum aperture is f3.5, okay? And that is only at 18mm. As soon as you start going up to 35 or 85 or 135, as soon as you start zooming in, that maximum aperture shrinks down pretty quickly to f5.6. And once you're at f5.6, you're not necessarily talking about great depth of field. But that said, it is incredibly useful, particularly because you've got such a wide range of focal lengths from 18mm all the way out to 135, which is a very nice portrait length. Very flattering. The best way to learn about this stuff, obviously, is to go out and shoot as much as you can. And let's take a look at how to actually attach this to the camera. There are two caps. You've got the front lens cap, which protects the front element. You gotta be very careful when you take the lens cap off, because you don't wanna crack the glass, you don't wanna get too much dust on it, you don't wanna get too many scratches on it, of course. You wanna keep that as clean as possible. So whenever you are not shooting, okay, please put the lens cap back on. In order to attach the lens though, we also have to take off the back cap, all right? And on the back, there's also a glass element, all right? And the light basically goes through here and it hits the sensor in the camera. But of course you can't see the sensor because there is a body cap in place on the actual camera. In order to start working, we got to take the body cap off, okay? And then we line up our lens. And this lens has got a white diamond. And so we line that up with the white diamond that is on the lens mount. And we do a little clockwise turn and it clicks into place. And once it clicks into place, you're basically ready to go. The 50mm is slightly different because it is, the 50mm lens is made for full frame cameras. And so instead of that white rectangle, what you end up with is a red dot. If you look at the lens mount, you'll see that there is in fact a little red dot. So you would just match up that red dot to there, give it a twist, same twist, and you are good to go. And in order to take the lens off, you push this button right on the side and you give it a little twist in the counterclockwise direction and it pops right off. So there we go. Next up, very important, there are two switches on the lens that you should be aware of. The first says AF and MF. That of course stands for autofocus or manual focus. And so when you're using the C100 and when you're using Canon lenses with the C100, you can basically select whether you're going to do autofocus on the lens. If we select manual focus and we want to focus manually, we use this front ring, okay, in order to focus. Your focal point will actually move closer if you go clockwise, so closer to you, or further away from you if you go anti-clockwise or counterclockwise. If you want to zoom, you zoom using the large ring. So I got my battery here, okay, and I want to put the battery in. I just got to make sure that I can actually read Canon, okay. I should be able to see Canon, read Canon. That means that it's the right way. If I can't read Canon because it's upside down, it's not going to work. If I can read Canon, okay, then I'm just going to slide this in and push it over, okay, and click. Before we turn the camera on though, we should also take a look at our media, okay? The Canon C100 records to standard SD cards, okay? And you can find those cards in here. There's a little door that flips up and then you can grab your SD card just like so, all right? And when you want to put it in, you slide it in, right like so, clicks in, and you must close the door, okay? I can't even tell you how many students I've had who've come over to me and said, I don't understand why I can't record anything. And the answer very often is that they put the SD card in, but they didn't close the door. And if you don't close the door, you're not going to be able to record. So always make sure that the door is closed. All right, and the first thing that you should do whenever you get the card, before you shoot for the first time, whenever you get the camera, you should always format the SD card. This should hopefully give you an overview of how to actually set the camera up. First things first, you get your top handle on, you plug it in, you get your lens cap off and your lens on. Here's a tip, always just put those together, okay? This is the cap from the lens, this is the body cap, and they fit together just perfectly like that, and then you can just put them in the bag. Put them with the actual lens cap as well, because that's very, very important. Don't want to scratch our glass. That is your tour of the Canon C100.